To give you a classic example of this, someone who is a very famous philosopher, his name is Immanuel Kant, and he is who we get a very famous theory of ethics from. There's a Kantian deontology, right? It's named after him. And so in this theory of ethics, right, one of the core aspects is that reason and emotion are at odds with each other, right? That if you're going to make a moral decision, you need to use reason to justify that moral decision, not emotion, right? That emotion will lead us to biases, right? Will lead us to act irrationally, will make us do the wrong thing, right? And unfortunately, when you look back at the history of Kant's life, it turns out that he didn't always think this. He didn't always think that reason and emotion were at odds with each other. He used to think that emotion played a really important role in ethical decision making, but then he fell in love with a woman and she rebuffed him when he proposed, and he was devastated. And he went into isolation for 10 years. And when he reemerged, all of a sudden, emotion should no longer play a role in making decision. And when you look at it from that context, you're like, well, gee, that makes a lot of sense, right? He had this horrible experience because he made a decision based on emotion. It bit him in the ass. And so now he's saying we should not make decisions like that ever, right? And so one might, want to take that then motivation, that reality of motivation, may want to take his theory with a grain of salt, right? Or try to revise the theory in light of that, especially because it has had some really intense implications in terms of misogyny, right? A lot of people treat women as poor decision makers because we assume that women are inherently more emotional, right? So we still sort of do make those same associations that Kant was talking about. We associate emotionality with irrationality, right? And so a feminist philosophy of religion is going to be taking those types of things into consideration, right? What are the implications of these views on how we actually practice and live our everyday lives, right? Is it going to mean that some people are treated unfairly, unjustly, right? So that's what it means to look at any approach or theory from a feminist perspective, right? What are the values that are driving that theory? Did those values create problematic implications, right, if we accept that theory? Okay. So with all of that, right, Christine overall is going to be talking about miracles not only as not being sufficient evidence for God, but she takes this really radical claim where she says, if miracles actually occur, that should count as evidence against God. Right? So she's making a really radical critique here, right? That not only are miracles insufficient evidence to establish the existence of God, right? But that even if we can establish that a miracle has occurred, that should give us reason to think that there is no God, or at least not the type of God typically proposed to exist in the Abrahamic traditions. Okay, so she's going to give us a number of different reasons for this. Again, I'm sorry they're not in the PowerPoint, but I'm going to be adding them. The first one is that a miracle would constitute certain types of evil if we understand it in the strong sense, right? And who can remember what a strong sense of a miracle is again from Tuesday? Relating what?
The natural.
Natural. We're missing a word there, laws. The laws of nature, yes, right? The laws, the rules that govern everything in the universe, absolutely, right? And so the strong sense of a miracle is a violation of those laws, right? So the law says that something has to happen, right? And so a miracle would be that thing not happening when it should happen, right? So violating the law. So why would she think that it might be a form of evil, right? A violation of natural law or a permanently inexplicable event, right? Because remember, these, according to Swinburne, it's also non-repeatable instance, right? That's what makes it a miracle. Because again, if we were breaking the laws all the time, the laws aren't really the laws. We have to revise the laws. So these are rare things, non-repeatable, or as she says, permanently inexplicable in terms of natural explanation, right? We can't explain it other than God. Okay.